Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let me start that over. See, I'm used to having all these other people with me to tell me. I appreciate it, guys. Okay, I'm Elaine Abanatha, McCracken TIS, and I have, this is my second year doing this. I've been a special education teacher for 12 years prior to that, and I am super glad to be with you guys today. Taking on this charge and starting a new way to do PD. What a better way to do it at home and to relax and be able to jump around from session to session. So glad you guys are with me. It's very different to present to a computer screen. And so I can't see aha moments, as I call it. So if you will, please make sure that you are in the chat on YouTube. And I've got mine going here on my iPad so that I can see you guys and communicate with you. So if you are not able to see the chat on YouTube, just make sure that you are signed in with an account, and that's how they can tell who says what. If you're on an iPad, I've noticed that you have to have your YouTube app that you're logged into to be able to get that feature, the chat feature. So while you're in there, make sure that you tell me who you are, because that's recorded also. And then that way, also, if you have a Twitter handle, make sure that you drop that in so that I can follow you later on, and then I can too learn from you. So also, if you have any questions, put that in the chat. And if you have something to add, because sometimes when I'm presenting, somebody will say something and I'm like, I never thought of that. And that's just the way that I get fed. And while I'm presenting, and this is just a kind of a group effort. Just because I'm up here talking doesn't mean that I can't learn also. So if you've got something to add, make sure. You still can't hear you. Check the volume. Okay. Can you hear me, Jody? Will you let me know since you just typed in? I'd hate not to. Okay. Well, Donna says she can hear me, so I feel good. Okay. All right. So like I said, make sure that you use the chat feature and the link to, yay, Jody, thanks. Thanks, Mel. Okay, and how awesome was Kelsey Bell? Super inspiring. I've not read her book, so I'm definitely going to have to do that. So make sure that you do too if you haven't read it. But I was saying, make sure that you talk to me on this chat, because it's really difficult to present to a computer screen and not get a feedback and that those eye contacts and those aha moments. So if you see something or hear something that you like, drop that in the chat. And then also, if you have something to add, we all can learn from each other. So we've got 34 people here together, and then that way we can learn and have a great session. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's get to the nitty gritty here. Okay, so we're maximizing our productivity today, and we are doing some nerdy, like, let's get organized stuff. And one of the things that I feel is important is not only just, okay, so wait, let me also back up. So if you had a chance now, later, this is just a Flipgrid experience that so when I use tools, I have to actually use them like a student would use them. And I've heard all the awesomeness about Flipgrid. And so I was like, okay, let me see what's going on. So if you haven't gotten a chance to do that, I urge you just to do that. I'm not going to be broadcasting these. I'm not going to be showing them publicly, but get on there. And here's a little QR code that it does also. And check it out and try to share with me how you organize, whether it's the good, the bad, the ugly, or how I can even learn from you. But just being able to look at those tools and see how your students use them also helps us to feel more comfortable to use them. So, okay. Oh, it's asking for a password. Okay. All right. Thanks, Kelly. Let me look at that. Let's see. Well, maybe that bombed, but that's okay. We're going to move on. It's okay. No worries. But if you haven't had a chance to do Flipgrid, check that out because it's definitely a cool tool. Okay, and then the presentation is right here. It's bit.ly, capital E, capital A, and then Abanatha. So it's Abanatha Organize. So, as of last week, thanks. Let's see. The password was like 8. There it is. Flipgrid code. Let me check that. Thanks, Patty. You're a lifesaver. Okay. So I'm thinking it's that. And so let's put that, and I'll put that in here. Oh, that's not it. Okay, so here was the Flipgrid code, 680982. Thanks, Patty. 680982. Okay. 680982. Okay. 680982. So if you do choose to do that, thanks, Patty. I appreciate it. You're always my lifesaver. Huh. That's the code. That's what it tells me. So here we go. So let's view it as a student. Okay. So Flipgrid assigned to you. Okay. They assigned to me. Well, I wasn't really, I don't know. That's okay. There you go. So you've got to, and those are the things about feeling more comfortable about it and using it. So that's okay. No worries. All right. So we'll scratch the Flipgrid. I'm not too stressed about that, but I do want to know, drop it in the chat, how you keep yourself organized. And if it's got something even with digital tools, well, I talked to a lady earlier that told me that she uses her Microsoft Outlook calendar religiously. And I thought it's just breaking down that silo, making it where it's shareable and it's easily accessible. Because back in the day when I used my paper notebook, I can't tell you how many times I would say to myself, oh, I've got to remember when I get home to make sure I put that in that calendar. And it's hard for us to stretch and hard for us to get away from what we're used to. But once you start to feel that stretch and that uncomfortableness, and then when you get past that, you think to yourself, I am so glad I did this. And that's really anything that is in life that's outside of your comfort zone. But so digital calendar is something that is definitely a silo shatterer. So, okay, so we're going to move on. And one thing I'm going to talk about is the importance of using the browser Chrome if you're going to use these digital tools mainly from Google. And the purpose of that is because they're going to make tools that are more easily accessible for that are within their company. And that just makes sense marketing wise. A lot of times people get frustrated with Candace, I don't have that Flipgrid password, and I'm sorry, we'll just have to scratch that. Apologize, guys. But a lot of times we get frustrated. I see people get frustrated with Google links because they say, "Oh, well, I don't have it. It says I don't have rights," and that's a lot of times is just because they end up getting caught up with not being signed in properly for their Google Chrome or within a Safari browser or Firefox browser. Now you can get into your Drive within any browser, but it's just streamlines everything when you use Google Chrome. And if you're using a Chromebook, this usually is streamlined for you. But for those of us using a Mac or a PC, it is very important for you to make sure that you understand how to holistically sign into Google Chrome. So real quick, it's a little bit of an elementary session, but or topic, but making sure that you have your name in the top right-hand corner will tell you that you are holistically signed in. I stole from Dr. Marty Parks that he put his Twitter handle up at the top because right now is a perfect example. I'm streaming live on YouTube, and maybe you guys will see that rather than just my name that my Twitter handle is now my name up here. Another important skill is to be able to toggle back and forth from your personal account to your school account. I tell a lot of people it's important to keep church and state separated. And so I don't actually visit Facebook right here on my school account because if I just happen to pull Facebook up at school or something, I didn't want it to automatically log me in. That's just kind of the church and state thing, but also to be aware that you have your own Drive if you have your own Gmail account. So when you have a limited number of storage inside that Drive, but you if it's a Gmail account, but if it's a school and you're a Google Apps for Education school district, you have unlimited storage. And to me, that is the power it's crazy because I used to be in a silo inside my computer where I was only allowed to have so much storage, and now I can keep oodles and oodles and oodles of stuff. So it's amazing. It's amazing. And Google has given us that huge blessing. But making sure that you're logged in holistically, and you can do that by making sure your name is up at the top right-hand corner. And as you can see, I can toggle back and forth within this browser. But the best way to do it is, if you're on a PC or a Mac, is to find where it says people and add a person. And so then that way, if you have somebody who's going to borrow your computer, like I have my children, they borrow my computer, they actually can open up this browser and log in as themselves. And I don't have to remember their no red ink password. I don't have to remember his chess password. It's like his own virtual computer. Sometimes people will go into Drive and they will log out as, or they'll log in as a separate person here. And that's where a lot of times people's links get really confusing and you get frustrated because you're logged in as two different people. And that window where you're holistically logged in starts saying, well, today, who are you? Are you this person or are you this person? So just make sure that you, and to fix that and remedy that is you go to the Drive. And if you see more than one person here, you're just going to sign out of all the accounts and then sign back in, and then find where you can see people and add a person. And that's where you would toggle back from your personal account or your email account. So if that, hopefully that helps and that clears up things for if you ever have any issues of you don't have rights to this, making sure that you only have that one person holistically logged in per profile is a big key. Okay, so what else do we have? Okay, so we're going to go on to bookmarks. And what bookmarks do is it allows you, and where most of us are familiar with bookmarks, but it's the ability to organize those bookmarks that can get in the way. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at how can you organize these bookmarks. So inside Chrome, and that's mainly what I'm going to talk about today, of course, is you're going to be able to see up here, my bookmarks look a lot different than some people's, and that's on purpose. This is a hack that I learned, not really sure from an ed tech conference. And what you do is when you go to, if I wanted to bookmark this page, because everything in your Drive is a hyperlink or a website. So if I wanted to bookmark this page, and right now mine, I've got too many extensions on here. So if I click on that, it's going to actually take me somewhere else. But if I want to bookmark this page, you could click the star here. And once you bookmark it, it is going to be a blue star. But when you bookmark it, you also get a nice little window up. And most of us, sometimes if we may have checked in and said, oh, I'm going to rename this. So, but if you rename it, then you still have a word that takes up a whole spot. And so what the hack is if you delete it completely and you say, and you make sure that it's on the bookmarks bar, you have completely made it now as a little button. And so during this training, I urge people to bookmark the following. And so if you want to, later on when you're watching this, push pause and go ahead and bookmark some of these awesome tools. Most districts have something similar to Lightspeed, which is how you get through the safety net of your district. And we just tell people to go to poker.com or blockedsite.com. And so I went ahead and bookmarked this because as I get into on school property, I need to make sure that the internet tells me that I let the internet know that I'm a teacher and I have rights to go to YouTube, I have rights to go to this, or I have rights to go to that, and then I'm not a teacher. So what I point out to people is if you type in each one of these characters, it's taking you time when you can just make a button. So click it and make that. So I work from left to right. So if you have an internet, a safety net that you can go to, you make sure you bookmark that. The next thing, most likely, people are going to bookmark their Google Drive. If you go ahead and bookmark it and you still see words, you're like, well, I tried it and it didn't work. If you right click and edit, you can also edit right here. So that's one way. There's multiple ways. That's one of the things I love about technology is there's multiple ways to do something. So you could go ahead and delete that name right there. Also, if you've already got these bookmarks and you're like, okay, Elaine, I got all the bookmarks here, you can also organize them by clicking and dragging. So that is a huge benefit as well. All right. Okay. So then, Patty, you're awesome. You're helping me out with all the back channel. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Make sure you let me know if you have questions too, if I go too fast. So go ahead and bookmark your drive. If you use Microsoft Outlook, you bookmark your email. A lot of teachers that I work with, they'll go, their email account is linked to our homepage, our school homepage. So they'll type in every single day, mccracken.kyschools.us. They'll wait for that to load. They'll scroll down. They'll click the button for their email, and then they'll wait for that to load instead of just making a bookmark and selecting that. So making bookmarks, of course, like I said, is going to save time a lot. Okay, so later on, we're going to talk about Google Keep. And so we've got that bookmarked. We're going to talk about Google Calendar, and we've got that bookmarked. We possibly are going to get into some Google Plus. And always, most of us are using, of course, Infinite Campus. Now, not teaching a class with students directly, I don't have to utilize that. So it's not in my face and on my top priority list down here. So, but go ahead and bookmark Infinite Campus. And so that's a hack of making sure that you know quickly making buttons as well. If you do notice that we have also some folders up here in the top, and we all wear different hats, and maybe you have a whole bunch of bookmarks that you need. Maybe you're a teacher that teaches math half the day and teaches English or reading half the day. And you're thinking, well, I have all these bookmarks for math and I have all these bookmarks for English. So if you want to add any type of folders, you can go into your bookmarks and Bookmark Manager, and then you can start organizing. So a lot of people still have bookmarks from ages ago, because you get something from an email and you're like, oh, I need to keep that. So if you make bookmark folders, you are actually able to then drag and click or drag and organize these bookmarks. So this is the bookmark we just made a minute ago. And if we drag that into this folder, now I can have it where I have other bookmarks and other folders as well. And that's just another organizational trick. You can have as many folders as you want as well, and you can rename them and getting organized. It's just taking time too to get that going and get that done. In that Bookmark Manager as well, you can also reorganize. If you notice that you can click and drag and organize them as well. You can delete. So if I decided to delete this, I can go ahead and delete that as well. So that works. All right, so bookmarks are good. And while we are on the topic of bookmarks, another little hack that I really enjoy is I like to keep tabs open. Let me know if this is not just me. I like to keep tabs open for what I've got to do. And it is amazing how much stuff you think, oh my goodness, I have got to get this done. So I'm just going to leave this tab open. And I've got this done. And I need to buy this at Target. And I'm going to leave this tab open. And so sometimes we accidentally close tabs that we don't want to close. So if you ever close a tab and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't want to close that tab. If you go to history, it will let you see what you've recently closed, and you can quickly reopen that. Another cool trick is called pin your tabs. So I like to pin my mail usually, because as I'm closing things out and moving really quickly throughout the day, I don't want to accidentally close my mail out because I know I'm going to need it. Or I also don't want to accidentally close out Infinite Campus. So if you right click on a tab, and you can pin a tab as well, and that will just literally move it. So if you pin it and it's all the way over here, it'll move it to the front of the line, and it makes it where you have to mentally close it out. Make sure you guys are letting me know if you guys are like, oh, that's a great idea, because it's kind of hard to present to a computer screen and not get feedback. So make sure that you're letting me know if you guys like the things that we're sharing today. Or if you have anything to add too, definitely, if you have anything to add. So pinning your tab will keep you from accidentally closing things out. And it will also, when you close out Chrome and reopen it, it will reopen that for you automatically. So I'm going to unpin this tab, and then it shows up where I can exit out. So sometimes also, this is where I'm talking about, yes, simple solutions. Thanks, Tiffany. Yes, absolutely. Tabaholic, Patty. Me too. Me too. This next extension is going to help some of our other Tabaholics with us. So sometimes I'll show a YouTube channel, and I did this in a live broadcast the other day, if Heather's still with us. And I shared a YouTube video, and we were on live, and then I forgot to pause it. And so I'm midst doing something else, and I'm thinking in a panic, where's this noise coming from? Where's this noise coming from? So what I wanted to show you here was, if you ever have noise going on in your Chrome browser and you're not sure which tab it is, there's going to be a little speaker icon in the top right-hand corner of that tab signaling to you that that's the tab that's making the noise. And sometimes, especially in Kentucky, when we have, like we just had the Preakness, or you've got Kentucky stuff going on, or you've got election time when you are streaming events, but you still want it open, but you don't want it to be broadcasting while you're with students, you can right-click on a tab and mute the tab. Oops, let's go back here. So you can right-click on a tab. So we're going to demonstrate that by here, and I'm going to teach you another little trick real quick. If you ever need a quick little timer, if you just open a new tab, and oh, yes, Kelly, thanks. Control-Shift-T, it awesome opens a recently closed tab. I need to get that in my brain. I need to, because I haven't quite digested that one. But I've heard about it. Great addition, Kelly. So if you open a new tab and you're like, oh, I need a 1-minute timer, okay? All you do is put it in the Omnibar, and then it will, oh, maybe I needed to have this space. 1-minute timer. So it can be any kind of timer, and so, or any length of time. And if you automatically have, you just type it in that Omnibar up at the top, and you go ahead and put the time that you want for your class, and you can even maximize it here. You can make it full screen, which is really awesome because I didn't have to even prep for that. And then you'll get that quickly. It also has the feature where it can be a stopwatch as well, and you can count how long things take. So hopefully that's a cool little trick that you guys didn't know as far as getting a timer. This is also the time where, and most of us are probably techie since you're on a virtual PD, but it's funny when you work with people, you just get in a habit. And so a lot of people, when they're trying to Google something, they'll take the time and they'll type google.com up at the top, and you're thinking, all you gotta do is type it in this Omnibar. So if you're still a person that's in the habit of typing Google, and so now we've got a time here, notice this little thing, and I can right click mute site. I just wanted you guys to see that. So if you have something, so that was a skill we just learned about making a timer quickly, and then also muting a site, and you can unmute it. It would still be that annoying sound. But to toggle or to quickly go to Google a site, all you have to do is make sure that you go to that Omnibar and you just type it in. No need to go to google.com anymore. Okay, so we're going to move on to one of the favorite things that I have. Oh, good, Jody. I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad you're learning this. One of the favorite extensions that I have, and there's a lot because you can tell I've got a lot of extensions, and actually we're just going to go ahead and go into those too, and I don't have them on on this presentation, but is called OneTab. And OneTab has a twisted way figured out of how to use this, but the main purpose is, and Patty, if you don't have this extension, you're going to love this one. So as you start using Chrome, you start looking at, oh my goodness, I have a ridiculous amount of tabs open. And so you start thinking, what in the world am I going to do? Because sometimes when the more tabs you get open, the slower your browser will get, and you get frustrated. You get that spinning wheel. So if you go into your app store, and I always tell people, I'm like, it's like going shopping. You just open a new tab. You go into this button that everybody has on the left-hand side, and then you go to Web Store, very similar to your iTunes store or your Play Store if you have an Android smartphone. And that's what extensions are, is they just enhance what your Chrome browser will do. And then if you type in one tab, then you can find this extension that we're talking about. So mine already is added. Yours would be blue if you don't have it. Once you click that button, it's going to give you a window that is just a window that's saying that you can that you give the rights for them to access your browser. And after you do that, you'll get this nice little extension up here that looks like a funnel. And I'm not going to click it because it takes a while when you're broadcasting live on YouTube for it to come back. But I did leave one open. So when you click it, it literally gathers all of these tabs and freezes them in time so that they look like this. And so if you are presenting to your class and you just don't want them to see everything, or you just don't really want them, you don't want to open something and then drag it down here and then minimize it and lose it, because I've done that before. If you keep it all open and then you click your one tab, it's kind of like a to-do list or something where you can get, yep, tabaholic, Heather, funny. So where you can kind of get what you were doing. And it also keeps a history, which is really neat. So I don't have to keep this one tab open. All I have to do is have the history of my one tab. Another really cool feature is when I was using this one time, I thought this would be an awesome tool for you to publish what you want your students to work for. So kind of think of like a hyperdoc, but you would open up all of your articles that you would want or websites that you would want your students to access for whatever project. Or maybe you just have this where it's a one-stop shop for things that you want them to visit frequently. Maybe it's your website, and maybe it's the school calendar. Maybe it's, so whatever, it be a list of websites that people want to constantly have quick access to. So once you click that, you open all of those open, and then you click your one tab. You can share it as a web page, and then it will actually make a QR code for you. Yes, Kelly, yes, that's what we're doing. So you're going to make this one tab right here into a QR code and publish it. And so now this link right here, if I were to open this up, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go in, and that's why I use my kids' stuff. I'm going to open this up. Now I'm my son. And now when I show this, he's got all of those websites that I've got. So, so if I were to put this link on Google Classroom or post this QR code around the room from a carousel, all the kids would have access to all of those links that I wanted to give them quick access to. And that is a twisted way to kind of use one tool that's meant for something else for another thing. And that's one of the beauty things that I love. Yes, also having too many extensions runs down your computer. Oh, Patty, I may need to get that one. Thanks for sharing. So Patty's saying that if you have too many extensions, it can run down your computer, and I might have that problem as well. So speaking of extensions, there are two other necessities that I'm going to talk about, and this is oldies but goodies. And if you go into that extension, remember you go to the App Store, and then you go into the Web Store, and if you get yes, Kelly, that's exactly it. Defined twisted best. I love app smashing, Marty. I love it. Glad you're joining us. Okay, so if you go back into your App Store and you go to that extension, the store, go in and type in the word and glue tabs, and it will have right under it this little cut and paste. And so right now, you and I everybody has to multitask. We've got something that we're typing from, we're copying and pasting, and it is exhausting to make sure that you say, okay, let me get this right here, and then I need to make sure that this window fits over here. That takes too much time. I don't have time for that. So one of the best things is these extensions called paste tabs and glue tabs. I think just glue tabs, and you'll see these two little things. And the beauty of those is that say I need to toggle back from this tab and this tab, and I'm constantly going from one thing to the next, looking at data and putting it in Infinite Campus and whatnot. If you click the cut, it's going to automatically split those two windows for you. And you're going to be able to also, so maybe that didn't open up what I wanted, but I'm going to definitely get this one over here. I'm going to put this one over here. You can also separate it that way. So maybe it just allows you to have two active windows at the same time, which is a huge benefit. But then you're thinking, well, now how do I get them back together? Well, that's the purpose of the glue extension. You just click the glue and it puts all of your tabs right back together. And so those are two extensions more that that you definitely need to get if you don't have them already. And Patty shared one as well that is really cool that I need to look into. Okay, one more. We forced this one out when we first started as a Google Apps for Education school district through the admin portal, which you can do as well. You just have to have someone put it in the admin portal. But Adblocker Plus is an extension that when you show YouTube videos to your class, it blocks the ads. And so I was scarred for life as a kindergarten special ed teacher, and sharing a YouTube video, and then an underwear ad showed up. And I thought, and of course they never got over it. Like it was, and I just thought, oh my goodness. So Adblocker Plus is a great extension if you don't have it already. So, all right, so we're going to move on. So least but not not last, but one of the best things that I love and that helps run my life is my Google Calendar. And I'm going to go ahead and just jump off the cliff here and share with you my craziness of my life. And it's the importance of knowing what to use with Google Calendar is extremely important. Now, some of us use our Microsoft Calendar. That is, I'm not here saying you have to use Google or you have to use Microsoft. It's just shattering those silos and making things where it's easily accessible and shareable. And that's the key to these digital tools and making it also. So we're going to teach most of our school districts. If you are Google Apps for Education, every single student has all of these tools alongside with you. So if you're modeling these tools and showing with them the ways to keep organized, they're going to pick up these skills as well. It's old school now to keep an agenda, although I'm not. Please don't let me shame anybody. I'm not here to shame you. Life is hard. It's not easy, but it is old school to use a paper agenda. That's the way we grew up, and that's the way. If that's the way you're organized, that's the way you're organized. But these kids are going to have to learn how to be digitally organized. So, a Google Calendar, and what I love. Yes. Oh, yes, Lisa. Alice Keeler has a split screen extension, and I think it also goes to Google Classroom as well. She has one too. Actually, I have it right here. There it is. And it'll split right to your Google Classrooms. Okay, so let's dive into Google Calendar. If this is your first time ever going to Google Calendar, the thing you need to do is go to calendar.google.com, and you're going to see that .google.com happen regularly. And so you're going to see how it is like that last end, that prefix is going to be a norm for Google. So you have to kind of look at it as a layer. I'm adding a layer of your calendar to another person's calendar, and who needs to see this calendar. So I can turn off layers and I can turn layers on. So right here, this orange one is my work layer. And I have made this public. I've also put that link on the bottom of my signature, so that as a district person that travels across the district, I want anybody to be able to see where I am. It holds me accountable, and it also allows people to collaborate with me easier. They can look at my calendar and say, oh, I see you're at Reedland Elementary next week. Do you mind stopping by Reedland Middle School? And that helps me streamline things as well. So you have to think of who's going to need to see this calendar and why, and also if I share it. So another thing is that why you have multiple calendars is I don't want my school calendar to have my hair appointment on it. I don't want everybody in the district to know when my hair appointment is, or when my nails appointment is, or that I need to go to the doctor. I have made those mistakes of putting them on there, but that is just something that you get used to, of double checking things and seeing. And that's another benefit of making sure that that things are color coded as well. So let's go in and see what we've got here. To add a calendar, so when you have a Google account, you have a standard your name calendar. And my method of my madness is to make that a color that I really don't care for, which is brown. And so when I have that on, that means that if somebody was going to invite me to something, it pops up as something that sticks out as a sore thumb here. So that I know, oh, somebody's invited me to something, and then I need to make sure that I accept it or don't accept it. It doesn't get blended into this madness. Also, our kids' activities. I don't know about you, but ball season is enough to drive you guys crazy. Not else to mention to let people know when ball games are. And so if you create a calendar for your kids' activities, maybe even a calendar for each kid, you can go if you go into the calendar and you click the three little dots, you can click settings and sharing. And this is where you then set the rights to that calendar. So you can actually make the calendar public, which is what I did for my school work calendar, so that anybody that had that link was able to see where I was. You can also add people to the calendar so that they can see it. Or for those of you that want to share a calendar with your parents at school, maybe, and we'll talk about, maybe we can get into some Google Classroom, but when you use Google Classroom and you make an assignment, it automatically puts it on that classroom's calendar. When you create a classroom, it makes a Google Calendar and it creates that assignment. And so when I help teachers set up a Google Classroom, I urge them to go ahead and make that calendar public and then share that calendar with their parents, because then all of the assignments that they create in Google Classroom are all automatically put on that calendar. And so this public URL is what you would use to share with your parents. Now, I don't have this on the presentation, but everybody needs to understand about URL shorteners. And there are several out there that make them, goo.gol, or however you say it, is one that makes URL shortener, but it doesn't make them memorable. I'm a fan of bit.ly, and also I'm a fan of data. And so when I go into bit.ly and I create an account, and what you do, so if I wanted to all right, so I want to share this calendar. It's my kids' activity calendar. I want to share this with the grandparents. And I want them to also have it, because they all have iPhones. Here's the iCal calendar. So I'm going to copy this link. If I want to go to bit.ly, make an account, you can make it memorable so that if this was your calendar for your classroom or your living calendar, maybe some people are using Google Calendar for living calendars, and you ran into somebody at the supermarket, you're going to want to be able to, and they say, oh, I just never can find that. It's always in my email, or I've lost it. You can say, don't worry, and you remember it because it's using a URL shortener similar to bit.ly or bit.ly. So once you grab a URL, you can create it. Oh, let's decline that. That is my counterpart in the district. So if you create a bit.ly and you paste that, most URLs come up with this. Still, it's something I can't just come up in the supermarket. I'm not going to be able to go, oh, well, don't worry, that's 2 capital J M. You can change a bit.ly, so you would make it something memorable. And that is a quick way to make some things that you can help people with when streamlining. And also, the thing about bit.ly is it keeps up with data. And so I told you I was a data girl. I like to see how many times somebody clicks on something. And it also gives you a chart. So if maybe I've shortened my website address and I've made it into a bit.ly, I want to see how my advertising is for my school website maybe. And so then you can see the data as far as how many times people have clicked on it. and when. So that's my Bitly soapbox, but I love Bitly. Okay, so let's get back into Google Calendar. All right, so make sure if you guys have any questions, we do that. You let me know. Okay, so within the Google Calendar in the sharing settings, you can add people to it as well, and you can also make it public right here. So let's go back into settings. It is difficult to kind of wrap your brain around that it is layers of calendar. But once you get the hang of that, it's pretty simple. So let's say that somebody invited me to, once you're in Google Calendar and you click the plus, somebody invited me to something, and I'm going to make sure that it's on my Elaine. Okay. And then I've got this stinky brown thing. That to me is like, oh, okay, somebody's invited you to do something. Then if I need it to go into another calendar accordingly, maybe I need it to go into my work calendar. So I would right click on it, or actually click on it. And then the three little dots, you can copy it to something else. So another purpose of using this would be maybe I need to do something that I need my husband to see that I'm there, but he doesn't see my work calendar. I can copy it to his calendar, and so on. So one of that copying is a huge benefit. So I could copy this to my work calendar. Now it's going to show up. It's going to ask me to save it, and it's going to show up as a double task. And so anybody that can see the orange ones are going to be able to see that task now, but before they were not able to. Okay, let's double check on Google Calendar, and we can, okay. So one of the things though I want you guys to see is the tasks. So when you first start with Google Calendar and you have, and Patty's already said this is one of her must-do things. When you first start with Google Calendar, this has reminders on it, and you right-click on it and make it into display as switch to reminders. But I like it as tasks. And what tasks are once you turn it into task, it pulls it into a little pull-out thing, and it gives you a to-do list. You can also add so this is my to-do list on June 19th. I need to pay for team drinks for T-ball. So once you do that, you can write it down and you make that. So now on June 19th, oops, we don't want that. Fix that out. On June 19th, it's going to show that I need to pay for drinks, and it's also going to give me a reminder. Now, you can create multiple lists. So maybe I need to keep up with a personal to-do list. Like you wear many hats. So you have a work to-do list, you have a church to-do list, maybe you're a coach of something to-do list. And so you can toggle back and forth between those as well, and then also make them reminders. Now, one of the other things that I really like is that Google Calendar will allow you to automatically send yourself reminders through a text message. And so we're going to talk about setting that up. So if you go into your settings in Google Calendar, this helps me because I constantly forget. I'm working on taking some night classes and working on my doctorate, and I forget that I have night class on Monday nights. And so I need that text message reminder, Elaine, don't forget you have night class. So what you have to do is you have to set up SMS for that. And it's at the very, very bottom. It's called mobile setup. And what you do is you put in your phone number. It'll send you a verification code, and then it will automatically link that you have SMS ability. Before you have to set that up first. But what I'm going to show you is now within your Google Calendar, if this was an event that I needed a reminder of, and I put it on a calendar, I can now also add a notification. And before I did that, I could just give an email notification. Now I have the ability to give myself a text message notification, and I can verify, or I can say how long I want it before, even days or weeks before. That is a huge benefit when we get crazy when we get crazy busy and we need to remember things that are kind of out of our routine. So that SMS is something that you have to manually set up, but once you do, it then opens that gateway too. So, oh yay, 13 people. Oh, am I way over time? I am. Okay. Thank you, Virtual 3. Alrighty. So we did not get to everything that I wanted to talk to you about today. We've got Google Keep and Google Tasks we kind of touched base with, but this presentation is going to be linked. And if you want to learn more about it, don't hesitate to reach out to me in Google. Time flies when you're having fun. On Twitter, don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know if you need anything. And I'm glad you joined me today. And I will see you on the hashtag.